Hey, Andy, what is your perspective on job interviews that include a test after talking to the hiring manager? Okay, it depends what kind of test it is. So, number one, I love case studies, meaning, hey, we would like you to go and whiteboard this, or hey, here's a little scenario that we encounter a lot. We'd love to see your thoughts on this. Can you write this up? And we'll discuss it next time you're here, or send it back, or whatever. Or we'll give you an hour, whiteboard it, and I'll come back in and we'll talk it through. Okay? I love those. And the reason I love those case studies, is because that gives them a great way to see if you actually can fit. Because if the case study is designed well, it will be like a real life situation that you would encounter. Now I can get a great view into how you'll interact. Okay, the other kind of tests. There are personality tests. There are psychology tests. There are aptitude tests. There are, hey, we just want to see what kind of animal you are, so I know if you're a tiger, you're not going to eat the dog, or whatever, right? Disc profiles and all these other things. I think all that other stuff is total bunk, and I honestly do, because if you're going to use tests to filter out the best candidates, I would argue that any test you ever give me, I take in an inert state. And if you don't understand this concept, this is why IQ tests are not a leading indicator of overall success in life, right? Because if you're going to ask me to solve that problem, or you're going to ask me what I would do, there are going to be 28 other factors that I'm going to have to factor in on that moment that I encounter that situation in real life, which there is absolutely no way any test can simulate. Well, how was my boss feeling? Did I get enough sleep the night before? Was I training for a race the following day? Is my kid sick? Was I rushing? Did I get in a car accident? Am I dealing with the guy who politically postures at work all the time? Am I selling to the big customer? Is it a small customer? Am I the lead guy? Am I not the lead guy? All of this stuff factors in. What's the market doing? Is the stock price going up? All of this stuff factors into what I do on any given day. How are you going to simulate that? In a test, where I'm probably sitting in either a room with a computer or I'm at my house taking this, right? So this is a great question about what I think about this, but this is why these tests are not indicators of your performance, because you cannot simulate that. What's a better way to do that? A case study or something else. It's not perfect, but it's better. So you asked my perspective. That is my perspective. Now, my perspective doesn't do you any good when you're interviewing with a company that you want to work for, and they say, hey, Mwalimu, will you take a test? You say, yeah. But then what you didn't ask me is, Andy, what should I do to prepare? I'm going to say nothing. Get a good night's sleep. Eat breakfast and go, right? Kind of thing. So that's how I view those. I laugh at companies who give you like 6 tests and think, what a waste of time, what a waste of money, and what an irritation for the job candidate. That's what I think. I have told, now I'm not even going to go into this story. I've told this full story once before of a client of mine who had a 500 person company, and they were revamping their recruitment, and they had hired, actually you're going to get the 90-second version of this. Had a client, they wanted to implement these tests. They decided to come up with 6 different tests, like the Wonderlic test and the DISC test and some personality and psychological this and that. She said, everybody of your candidates who interviews with us now is going to need to go through these tests. We give them to everybody who comes in, every level. I said, why are you doing this? Well, we really believe, because we're an analytics company and this and that. I said, I'm telling you, this is the waste of time, waste of money, and it's not a good predictor. So how are you going to know these things work? She says, we're going to test everybody in the company. So all the 500 people who were already there who hadn't taken these tests, we're going to take these tests. And they take the tests. I said, tell you what, bet you the most expensive dinner I can think of that I'm going to tell you that you give everybody those tests, and all that stuff that you think is going to correlate, you're going to find does not. And I'll take your word for your analysis on whether you can draw that conclusion. You can use whatever rationalizations you want, but you give me a straight answer, right? But I'll trust you. So they all go and they take the tests. And she comes back and she says, where would you like to go? Because there was the Wonderlic 50-question test about how many oranges and apples are in a bag is not going to tell me whether the recruiter can figure out and assess whether that candidate's going to be a cultural fit. right? Or whether the salesperson's going to be able to sell whatever. So anyway, I went out and ran the bill up. It was like $1,300 dinner, which I absolutely loved, every morsel of it. I think I ordered an extra bottle of wine to go. But you get the idea. That's how I feel about those. And that's where I get my data from. And as a recruiter, we've recruited for companies who've done this stuff. And we don't like it. We really don't. That's a great question.